Yo. All right. We're here. So this one's going to be a little different today. We're kind of just inviting people to ask questions, talk, discuss things, tuning, whatever related. Didn't really have much of a plan, but wanted to make sure that we still came on and kind of we'll talk about a lot of different things, I'm sure. But this one's going to be mostly just customer based, right? So whatever you guys have questions of and things that you're thinking of or things that you want to ask somebody, this would be the time to do that for sure. Sorry, answering a few more texts, getting that all done. What's up, Seth? What's up, Shane? Low boost. Yeah, I know. You got to fix that thing. 12 pounds of boost is just not going to work. All right. Anyways. So that's what we're going to do. So if you're on Facebook or Instagram, come to Tuned In with JWT. Don't mind Wendy still dying in the background. She won't go to the doctor. I can't make her go. But yeah, so a lot of things that we've been doing today. We're going to, we kind of just gotten everything cleaned up. And then tomorrow I fly out to Houston. We've got a couple cars to throw in the dyno for HPS. Saturday, I'll be testing a new operating system, which will do boost control by wheel slip on the factory computer. So pretty cool. It's really cool. We'll see how that works out. If it works out really well, I'll get it posted. That'll be something that will be available to people. Again, it is a custom operating system, so you'd have to have it, applied to your computer. But we'll talk more on that once it's already tested. A lot of stuff you guys have known if you've been watching. We do a lot of stuff in the background, a lot of different tables that we're finding and adjusting, and so we keep on pushing and trying to just find anything we can to take us to that next level and keep us on that edge. So like I said, today is going to be whatever you guys want to talk about. Let's talk about it. I don't do enough of these. I usually come in with like an agenda and we handle that, and then we do a little Q&A. So this one will be you guys' agenda. What do we want to discuss? If we want to discuss how hybrid is the king, like I said it was going to be, and the ZR1X, I mean, hello. I don't know about 450K, but a lot of money for a car. For a Chevrolet. 450K for a Chevrolet?
A Chevrolet what?
ZR1X.
No, absolutely not. I'm just kidding.
Or is that just a ZR1? I don't know. On what ECU? Cypher. So basically what we're working on right now is, I don't want to say too much because it's not out yet, but it will be getting tested Saturday. And if everything goes to plan, which it's been tested on another car, I'll talk more about it. But essentially we're using the factory computer E92. So that is your LT1, LT4 vehicle. Not a truck yet, but the cars. And what it'll do is your 3 different drive modes or whatever drive modes you have, I can set a target boost that I'd like it to hit. So let's say track mode, I want all the boost. Doesn't matter what the wheels are doing. Cool. Sport mode, I want 20 pounds of boost as long as my front versus rear wheel slip isn't above this percent. So basically you turn traction control off, have it in sport mode, stab the gas, and it will automatically adjust the boost, with the factory blower or, right now it's only supercharger, but with the factory supercharger, we can adjust the boost on the fly based on how bad the back's spinning to try to fix that and then give you as much boost as possible. How that differs from the reflex, we have to build a curve in it, right? So we have to know about how much boost it can take. Typically we have to undershoot that for different conditions. The issue is if you don't have enough, you didn't bring enough, you just lose the race, and I don't like that. They do have scramble for that, but this is just a way to use the factory computer to try to give us as much control as humanly possible, as fast as possible, to give us everything that car can use while living on the edge of traction and trying not to die. So E92 currently. We've got some things coming for E67 we're working on to try to fix the 255 kPa limit. A lot of Blackwing and C8 stuff in development right now, but, that covers that right there. All right, Chance. Hey, I was maxing out the MAF. What size MAF tube would you recommend I upgrade to? It's currently 3-inch and AM 400 is ordered. Good on the wideband. So what he's talking about is he's got a D1X on a C7, and the pipe being 3 inches, The mass air sensor is in that. And then after so much air is flowing across that sensor, we end up around 15,000 hertz that it's reading, which once you hit 15,000 on an E92, it'll put you in the steering wheel. So the remedy is you up that diameter from like 3 to a 4-inch, or depends on how much power you're going to make. For you, I would say 4-inch should be fine, because that'll get us just where we need. What that's doing is essentially you have the diameter of the pipe and you have your sensor in there. When you go to 4-inch, you come back out, right? And that puts the sensor closer to the wall, a little further away, and there's less, the slower airflow is there. So basically, it's just a way to improve MAF resolution. And that way we don't hit that limit. So for yours, I would do 4-inch. I think that would be sufficient, because I don't think we're going to make too much more on top of that. But you know, it all depends. Wendy's car, when we went to go 28 pounds of boost, because we have a 255 kPa limit, which is about 22 pounds, we ended up having to go to a 5-inch mass air tube. That way we could slow it down. And you could space the sensor out, but nobody makes that flange currently to do that. Nor do people seem to like doing that. So that's what we're doing to kind of quench that. But that's also why we're working on these tables, to try to modify the factory internal limits so we don't have that issue anymore. I hope that covered that. BBWs is going to be fire. Is he talking about big, beautiful women or big, beautiful black wings? I don't know. What are we talking about? All right, I have a fully built 388 LME motor, porta blower, ZL1 lid, injectors, the whole nine, car made 776. If I did air lid spacer, do I need to get it tuned again? Is it even worth doing? If you have a 388 and a porta blower, ZL1 lid, injectors, when you say injectors, are we talking about DI injectors, or are we talking about it has port injection as well? Because 776 with a 388 seems awfully low. I'd have to assume pump gas. I need a little more info on that one. I know it's a dead platform, Gen 3, but I wish HB Tuners or EFI Live would release some bare bones OS to turn a factory ECU more of a standalone along like Boost. So, Cypher, if you look up a guy named Jack Kober, and I think Jack can help you with a lot of that. I've talked to him on a lot of different things. He's very, very into the Gen 3 stuff. He's got a lot of really cool stuff that he does. I would definitely have you go look up Jack Kober. Kober. If I spelled that wrong, sorry, Jack. All right, what's the best fuel to use on an all-motor 6-gen stock bottom end heads cam intake? Would you prefer M5 or C85? So you're talking two different things there. So let's say E85 versus C85, right? If you have the compression and everything and the motor's pretty hot, E85 versus C85 is good for 20, 30 wheel. M5, the problem is your stoic ratio goes from 9.8 to like 3. So you would need so much more fuel to run M5. It would be it wouldn't be just like a hey, I'm switching fuels thing. It would be hey, I'm wiring up an entire different fuel system. So just keep that in mind. It's not as easy as that. You know, we should call the operating system BBW. Boost by wheel slip. That's funny though. That's a good one. All right. I may need to upgrade the fuel system on this GTS. I already have the KPM drop-in pump, but it's maxed out. Think of an aux pump setup. Thoughts? So two ways you can go about that if you don't want to do an aux pump. I know a lot of people don't really like booster pumps, but newsflash, GM uses booster pumps factory. The C6 ZR1 has a booster pump in it factory. They call it something else, but that's what it is. They all vary voltage. I've got 2 boost pumps on my car, and it seems to do fine. They're going to fail now that I said that, but they've been fine. So that would be my first thing, would be go to that. That way you can adjust the voltage and get the best out of what you have. But an aux pump will definitely get you there as well. Just depends on, you know, if it's a GTS that has the fuel pressure sensor and all, so you need to know if you're got to add a regulator or not. If it has the factory fuel pump control module, which I believe the GTS does, it shouldn't be an issue. It can adjust the pump and keep the pressure in line for you. All right, let's see. How do you feel about the grudge scene? Seems like a lot of the same setups, but different tuners. Makes a difference on how these motors. So I hear that one a lot. And most of the guys that are really up in the grudge scene or the tuners that are doing it, I mean, an engine's efficient or it's not, right? So if you're one guy's tuning it, the other guy's tuning it, the other guy's tuning it on a dyno, I don't see that power being much different. I know tuners think that they can pick up like 150 horsepower on an NA car just by them tuning it. I don't believe that at all. Maybe 20, 30 between the two, but strategy, going to the track and being there, I think is a big deal. So the guys that you see that are at the track, that are actually making sure these cars are doing everything, make sure the shifts are right, making sure the lockup is doing what it needs to do. I think that's where it's really going to make a big difference. But I think the grudge scene it's cool. It's not my thing, only because it's not a very tuner friendly deal, right? Most people, it's like their flavor of the week, and they think that like this new tuner is going to know something that the guys that like us that have been doing 15 plus years won't know. I guess we just forgot. But I will say that the Popeyes overdrive stuff, I really do like it. If it was more like just a competition and it was like show times thing, would be really cool for us, because then it could showcase what we can do. But the fact that we go out there and we can't show times and things like that, for me as a tuner, it doesn't really benefit us. We still have a few cars that do it, but overall, I think the race is really cool. And I think it's really brought that competition a lot tighter, because you've got cars of all different platforms going out there. And, you know, one power out of foot brake overdrive is a very, very good leveling playing field. I don't know who not to install an aux pump. Unfortunately, yeah, I definitely would not. That was pretty bad. He's talking about aux pump on a Blackwing that had like 4 different segments of power wire with butt connectors in between. Pretty bad. How much more difficult is it to tune LTs on Global B? So the Global B stuff is getting a little crazy. So I actually found something last night that I felt like I had a pretty good handle on Global B. If you guys have been following like Tim King's car, some of the other Blackwings we've done, I mean, we're obviously, we've got them working, but every single time we kind of go through the paperwork and see like what these ECUs are actually doing, we're finding more and more switches of things that just want to go faster and faster and faster, and just things that release power and we don't even know where it's coming from. So I would say the difficulty level is mostly that a lot of the stuff for the Blackwing Global B, stuff like that, a lot of the stuff is still in code and not in HP tuners. And a lot of it's being brought over. So it's definitely coming, but a lot of it's not there yet. So the people that don't have access to that, they are going to struggle a little bit. I think it's going to be a learning curve. Let's go with that. It's very similar to the LT, but there are a few more tables than PIDs that need to be added that will get added in time. But I'd say give it about another month or two, and I think the Global B platform is going to have a big step up, because we just so to go back on this thing of learning and advancing, you guys know that we started this channel based on working together, and that all comes from being in Puerto Rico and kind of seeing how the tuners do it here, working together. So the whole point of this channel was kind of networking, getting everybody working together. And in the last 6 months, the stuff that we've learned is, and I say this on everyone, but it doesn't cease to blow my mind every time. So reason I say that, we just posted a car that made, what did it make, 893, and I tuned that car 6 months ago. Similar setup, same power, run like 990 on 93 octane. So makes good power. We thought we were there, right? Like, hey, this setup is running 9s. We've got this handled. I retuned that car with the things that I've learned in the last 6 months, and we gained 120 wheel. Never thought that, we'd find 120 wheel laying around from something that was already running numbers. So I'd say that mission accomplished in a way on how things are advancing. But keep that in mind. So if I was able to tune it 6 months ago, and then I was able to retune it, nothing changed on the car, and pick up 120 wheel, that tells you that there's so much more to be had on these cars. And that's an E92. That's a C7. So imagine what the Blackwings are going to be. I mean, literally the difference between 2 or 3 tables in the trans on a Blackwing is the difference between a 1040 at the track and a 940. So an entire second. So I'll get back to your questions, but I just wanted to kind of explain that really quick about how it's really cool that a lot of the tuners are really starting to work together. I've been talking to tons of tuners, kind of, hey, you know, if they need help with something, walking them through it. And they're like, man, I don't understand why you would do that. Well, I'm doing that because I want them to do that as well. I want people to work together to do, you know, to kind of advance this sport, I guess you'd say. Buy me a new high pressure pump. I gotta have me one. As you know, I live at extreme high DA. That's an understatement. 9,000. What would you recommend doing next, or what would benefit me? A cam or a torque converter? Nitrous, sir. Nitrous would help you, because nothing else is going to help you at 9,000 freaking DA but nitrous. It's DA in a bottle. Have you ever ran gauges on the CTSV pop-up screen? Is that possible? There's a guy. Who was it?
No.
Oh, fuck my life. He's New York. Poblete. Matt Poblete. Look him up. I think he was selling one. It's called a lockpick. That's what it's called. And it allows you to put things onto the screen, and you can do that with the lockpick tool. He was selling it. That's the only reason I would say you can go find it. I don't know where to get it at, but I think Benjamin Accardo had one back in the day as well. I just use a Dash Logic because it's cheaper. Yes, it's on pump gas. I bought the car. What?
I don't even have nothing like that in my car.
Oh, yeah. You don't need it. You just hit the gas pedal. It's on pump gas. I bought the car, and the paperwork says it has 1,000cc clinic injectors. Are we talking LS or LT, Anthony? I guess I should have asked that. I thought. Let me go back to that question. Where were we? Okay, so you said ZL1, and I get ZL1 lid, and I guess I all of a sudden assumed it was a ZL1. That's my fault. Yeah, 1,000cc injectors aren't going to get you much more than that anyways. But to finish answering your question, I will tell you this way. And coming up next, the Rick Crawford podcast is coming out. I know I've been saying it, but it's the next one.
Released BMS today.
And we released BMS today. So if you haven't seen it, BMS from up in Canada, his podcast is out. Really cool guy. That was a cool experience all in all, except for actually being in Canada. Not a fan. But anyways, what I was getting at with this is something that Rick said that really stuck with me is if there's an opportunity to make power, it's worth it. Right. And he doesn't do anything that isn't going to make some kind of power. And he has lid spacers. So that tells me that there was an opportunity to make power. So I can't say it's not worth putting on. I would definitely do that. What?
That's a good way to look at it.
I mean, he doesn't do anything for nothing. Have an LT1 bore at 4075 and going with Silverlight pistons. How safe and reliable would the car be? I don't know what Silverlight pistons. I've seen that before, but I don't know enough about it. I run the GPI drop-ins. I've been running those for 7,000 plus miles and 1,200 something wheel. If I was going to do an LT1 again, I would do that. I did the Ultra H rod, but I would do a Comp Star Extreme, not a regular Comp Star because they're rated at 900. But I would do that. I would do the drop-ins from GPI. What? Oh. If you are on Facebook or Instagram, make sure to come on over here to Tuned In with JWT on YouTube to get in on the questions. That way we can handle you here because I'm not going to be able to go back and forth. Also, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe, share the page, kind of help build this community with us. Like the video. You know, we have our membership stuff. I know I've been saying I'm going to do member videos. I am. But we finally got home last week, and I've been enjoying the island a little bit. So, and then tomorrow I'll go back to Houston. Fuck my life. All right. Is an LT4 high-pressure pump and injectors necessary for a 220 full bolt-on cam? Depends on your compression. If you have enough compression to make enough power, I would definitely do it, especially for E85. If you're not doing E85, I would question why you're not doing E85 first, and then go back to what I said about the compression. What's your expert opinion on the Hellcat supercharger versus LSA? Is it worth it? Power differences. I think the only benefit of the Hellcat supercharger is the noises that it makes. I would argue with pretty much anyone that the LSA rotor pack is one of the best and most efficient rotor packs ever made. So I cannot see how the Hellcat blower would be more efficient than the LSA blower. If I'm wrong, let me know. I'm okay with that. Tanner, that's funny. When going turbo on an LT4, do you have to change the map sensor settings? So, all right. So this is something I was sent a file. Car was turbo. If you do tuning, right, you see the airflow settings, which is it's a Z06. So the setting you'll see, I forget what it's called, but sensor configuration, and you'll see SCIAP. So what that is supercharger air inlet pressure. So when you have a supercharger, they measure the barometric pressure, which is the atmosphere, in the mass air sensor, right? And then further down the line, after the throttle body, but before the supercharger rotor pack, you have another sensor that's called supercharger inlet air pressure. Okay. Then after the rotors compress the air, you have manifold air pressure, right? So what that sensor configuration does is it says, okay, my atmosphere is here. As I'm getting in the throttle, I'm starting to lose vacuum in the snout, and it knows that we're transitioning into boost. Makes sense, right? If it doesn't, I'm sorry, but it should. So when you have a turbo, you don't have a supercharger inlet air pressure sensor because you don't have a supercharger to put the air inlet pressure in. So if you're tuning this car and you have a turbo, first thing you need to do is break the map sensor or the baro out of the mass air. So make sure you get that out because it's constantly updating on an LT4 platform. And you don't want to pressurize a map sensor because then it thinks you're just running under the earth as you go into boost. Second thing is you need to switch it to NA map or NATIP, however you want to set it up, do you, boo. But if you leave it at SCIAP and you have a turbo and you're tuning it like that, everything in that torque model is gonna bite you in the ass, and the car is gonna run like shit. And again, if you're tuning like that, you don't care what you're doing. Apparently, I don't know, but that's what you got to make sure that you always want to have your sensor configuration set properly, because that is one of the biggest things. Just like injector data, you know, the tune is never correct if the injector data is wrong, because all the calculations that you don't have access to are wrong now. So I don't care how well you got it to run, it's still wrong. So same thing with the sensor configuration. Make sure if you put a Pro Charger or you put, you know, anything that's not a positive displacement supercharger on it, that you switch that from SCIAP, especially if you no longer have an SCIAP. What kind of long-term reliability do you see on a 416 LS? Honestly, I know a lot of people say there's issues with like the 416 coming out of the sleeve. Man, I've seen people getting like 30, 40,000 miles on some of them. It really depends on the builder, depends on the use, depends on what you're doing with it. I can't say that I've seen the 416s have any less longevity than a stock stroke. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's it. Just tuned in. The Blackwing has built-in widebands, doesn't it? Yes, unless you ask Derek Dunbar, they do have factory widebands. So if your tuner asks you to add widebands to your Blackwing, you should probably get a new tuner pretty quickly. Curious if you did testing on your end using distilled water in the supercharger loop. Okay, so for clarity, something Vignesh brought up to me, and I honestly didn't even think about it. I always thought, you know, if you run coolant, I'm gonna bust him in the head. If you run coolant in your engine, right, it should run cooler than if you just run water in your motor, right? Because like it's coolant. That's wrong, and I didn't realize that was wrong. And Vignesh had pointed that out, but I haven't tested it because all of my cars only run water, because we do stupid things with our cars. And if for some reason they lift ahead, I'd much rather skate on water than I would skate on coolant. The other thing is, you know, we don't live where it gets cold or snows because we're tropical people. But I haven't tested that. But that is a cool fact. If you guys didn't know that, water cools better than coolant. Now, if you live where it gets cold and freezes and you put cool water in your car and you say, well, Justin said, I didn't say that. How do you feel about stock LT4 blower on an LT1 engine, considering the compression ratio difference on the two? I feel very good about it. Cam and everything else dependent. They're fine. I mean, I've made 750, 800 on stock LT1s with the LT4 blower. What I will tell you is when I tested the cams, the stock LT1 cam is absolutely terrible for boost. So that LT1 cam with the fuel lobe on it is absolutely terrible for boost. Like literally 100 plus horsepower difference on the engine dyno. Same engine, swapping the LT1 cam out for the LT4 cam. 100 horsepower. That's a big deal for just changing the cam. But otherwise, the compression, as long as you keep it with the good fuel and your tune-up's clean, I mean, more compression is more power. So it is a smaller tuning window, but if you have the right tuner, that's not typically an issue. Make sure you consult with your tuner first to make sure that he's okay with that. Stock motor Blackwing manual car on 93. Fix that first. Ported stock heads, cam, and exported blower. What would you suggest to boost it to 900? No meth. Meth. That's where I would go with that. If you're trying to make 900, depends on what cam too. So I did do a black one you can see in Puerto Rico that has the stage 1 cam, the exported blower, 93, and meth, and it made over 900 wheel. But I'm not understanding why you don't want the meth, because that gives you the cooling as well as the fuel supply. But port injection would work too. What's up, George? Haven't seen you in a while. George has I thought, why does it not see you in 6 seconds? Huh? The CTSV? George, have you been 6s? Let me know. George has probably one of the nastiest CTSVs out there next to Chris. Yeah. Chris is, I don't even know how he gets in that thing to drive it. I don't know where his balls go.
I don't even like to watch his videos because
that just makes me nervous.
The inside of his car stressing me out so bad.
What's up, Josh Turner? Recently learned IAT sensor blends with coolant temp to comprehend some heat pickup of air charge inside the cylinder. You know, I think I would argue that. Like, I get it. It makes sense. But as fast as everything's moving, I don't know. It blends too heavy, I think. I think it was more of a dampening effect than it was to actually be correct, because I can't see why you would want it to be lower than it actually is, because then you're vaporizing fuel that's unaccounted for. Undisclosed fund. I don't know about Legend. Oh. Oh, yeah. There you go. Griffin Motorsports. Justin Mitchell, if you need a high pressure pump, that guy will get you handled and get you handled quickly. Have you had anyone do the SMG dual pump for the C601? Looking to move from the DSX aux pump and looking for another option besides 4. I didn't know that they made a dual pump for the C601, but I have done several of those on the C7, and we haven't had an issue with it, so good to go. What's up, Max? Good to see you again. Max out there kicking ass, about to go 8s. I did see your email. I didn't forget you. I'm just wrapping things up because I got to fly tomorrow. So apparently all these people that are texting me aren't watching our live. So that upsets me.
Rude.
Huh?
It's so rude.
Bunch of rude asses. All right. Happy to hear no gatekeeping 2025 is going well. What's the 2026 mantra going to be? I don't know. Maybe we like change it up and say fuck the world. No, I'm just kidding. No, we're gonna keep that movement going, man. Because I think, like I said, if we've gained this much in 6 months, imagine when people get tired of losing and going slower, and they all start working together. That's gonna push us to go even further. So I think we keep it going Puerto Rico style, because it obviously works. It works out here for these guys. I don't know if you've seen cars in Puerto Rico, but they don't fuck around. I mean, they start at 100 pounds of boost. I don't even think I have the balls to try that.
We're about to with a Mustang.
Other than the Mustang. 2i PSI or DSI Atlas, thoughts I have on an F1A94 setup. So, Jose, I did cover this in the other one. I think the DSX Atlas definitely has its advantages for simplicity. I think, and again, it's personal opinion, I think we can make more power with the too high PSI, just again, my opinion. I think that in time, the Atlas is going to have a lot more stuff coming and should do really, really well. Honestly, I don't think you can go wrong with either one. So it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for like aux pump controls and some of the extra features, that's already available with 2 PSI. If it's a, if it's a race car and you really need every bit of power out of it, 2 PSI. If you just have a daily that you just want to go fast and you want simplicity on the tuning and, things to report like they should OE, which is really nice, that'd be the Atlas. If you just want to fuck the world, you get the FTI. The FTR from ProSpeed. That's Botech based, and I will argue with anyone that there's nothing better. But it is a work in progress. Thank you, Suarez. I appreciate that. The O2s on my 2014 Mustang cut out at wide open throttle. I replaced them. Same thing. What could it be? Unfortunately, I don't do Fords. I'm not 100%, but I know on the 14 they are wideband. So if they cut out, that's a big problem. I would refer for Ford stuff. I usually refer them to Rob Schumacher. That's who usually fixes the ones that I mess with. Appreciate it, Tim. Thank you for the donation. Unfortunately, couldn't go to the track today. I'm sad for you as well. But Tim went 9-1 with his Blackwing with everything in it, all the nannies, all the weight. But he will be going to get that 8s on 18s very soon. Your personal experience, max real horsepower with LT4 fueling and DSX aux pump. Depends if you're talking about with port injection or not. And if you're talking about E85 or pump gas. So if you can clarify that, we'll definitely go over that. Welcome, Chuck. Thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate it. Chuck's got a really nasty truck that I think Tim just built a trans for. And keep a watch out. Hopefully he'll post about it. But he's got a monster coming. Single cab, short bed, animal. So again, if you're on Facebook or Instagram and you want to come be part of the chat, chop it up with us, make sure you come to YouTube too with JWT, like, share, subscribe, do the thing. If you want to become a member, we have 3 different tiers. If you're a tuner and you're looking to kind of work together and learn some stuff, the gold tier is definitely the way. And we got some videos that we've been working on for that. Will you recommend a high ram or an MSD manifold on a stock motor 6-gen? It depends if you want to cut your hood. I think that the high ram definitely has a little advantage, but not enough of an advantage to cut a hole in my hood. If you're okay and you like that look, for sure the advantage is going to be the high ram. On the LSA platform, which one nets more return? Ported blower or ported heads if you had to pick just one? Man, I've seen 60 to 80 on ported blower, 40 to 60 on heads. Depends on the condition of your heads now. So like I've seen gains of 80-ish wheel on heads, but you got to keep in mind if your heads have 80,000 miles and the valve job's not super great, just a refresh on the valve job would pick up 20, 30 and then 60-ish. So it depends on how old your heads are, things like that. But ported blower and throttle body, 2 things you want to do together, more bigger, more power. Unless you have turbo or procharger, that doesn't count. I'll be running stock compression and no E85 in my location. I'm very sad for you. Let me go back to what his question was. Because you want to do, on the LT, on NA, compression is king, and the compression dictates your cam. 220 cam, man, you'd be cutting it close. You'd be cutting it close. It doesn't hurt to do the LT4 fueling, but I think you'll be kind of cutting it close if you don't do it, especially if you really kind of push it a little bit. Uh-oh. Other than yourself, who are the LT Global B tuners that are kicking ass lately? Well, I can tell you right now, Brandon Lieb is kicking our ass, but he has a lot more car. So
And a lot less weight.
So I don't know. But no, man, I've seen Lieb's got some Global B stuff out there. Who else does Global B that we know of? There is a guy, and I think he works with CSP, Ike or something. I don't know, but I know he's got a lot of background tables as well, and I've seen some of his stuff. So I'd say him. I'm not really certain on other people that are really doing Global B, because Global B is kind of a kick in the balls, especially like I said, if you don't have a lot of background stuff, just with what's on HP tuners, you're going to struggle a little bit. Who? Oh yeah. Spencer Harold in Houston. He's been doing quite a bit of Global B stuff as well, so he would be another one. And if you're a tuner and I should have known that you did it and I didn't, I am apologizing right now because I just can't think. But that's a couple. And like I said, we are still working on our website. Just takes time, but we are working on networking shops and tuners together. And that way you can kind of see who we are working together with. And kind of build like a trusted network, as well as like, that's something we thought about doing, like shop spotlight videos. Like what's going on at these shops? What are these guys working on? What cool stuff does this shop have? Alec Bledsoe, he's got some black wings that are, pretty fast, and he makes a lot of black wing products. All of his products are on Tim King's car. So, and then when we were having issues with getting Tim's car to hook, I think Tim talked to Alex at dinner and was like, man, we can't get it to hook. And he's like, we'll just leave on 5 degrees. Maybe he was joking, maybe he wasn't. We tried it. It worked. So, Alex definitely he's got a couple, tricks up his sleeve as well, which is really cool. What's your thoughts on ported throttle bodies? I don't like ported throttle bodies. Now that we can adjust the actual airflow area of it, maybe it's a little better, but I've never seen a ported throttle body that was worth the shit and that actually ran as it was supposed to run. So not a fan at all. Originally a Ford guy and went back to Ford's, learn under Ford. Okay. C7Z magnesium or twin turbo? Do you mean Magnuson or twin turbo? So that's a good argument. Magnuson's great for like up to, I'd say 1200. Yes, you can make more, but realistically around 1200 is where, you're going to be able to modify and use it and actually enjoy the vehicle. If you just want to make all the power and all the adjustability and you have proper fueling and proper control and proper management, you're never going to beat a twin turbo car. We were making 1400 with a stock motor twin turbo car, running 200 plus in the half mile. Global B is like wearing a loose sock. Just test your patience all day. Garrett. Look, man,
but it looks really
but you can't say that the 22 to 24 Blackwing is not the best looking fucking car that GM has ever made. Ever. Best looking car.
So the V boys be hating on it.
Huh?
The V guys be hating on it.
Who?
V1 looks so much better than
V1.
I mean the V3. Okay.
V3, not a chance. I think the V3 has its own elegance. I do like the V3, but I think GM dropped the ball on the V3. Sorry, Max. You fixed part of it, but I think they dropped the ball on a V3 because a lot of it was like kind of shit. But yeah, it is what it is. Calm down, Garrett. It's going to get better as we go. Thick said, send me that 150 shot tune. Bro, if you don't fucking grow up, we're gonna have to not be friends. All right. I messed up and ordered the works from Nitrous Express. Nitrous Express or Nitrous Outlet? 2 10-pound bottles, good enough. Also, the shop is sending my 2650 to them to machine the nitrous jets into the blower. That's the best place. As long as it's direct port. Direct dry. 1 or 2 kits. 2 kits is fine too. But we're Nitrous Outlet family over here, so
He might not have known that. You might not have told him.
I'm sure I told him. Let me know, Max. Not that it's a big deal, but it's a deal. That's our people. Undisclosed Fun is trying to go 900, but Undisclosed Fun is trying to go 900 because he's trying to beat my V2. I'm going to have to do injectors in E85 and you tune it so he can eat my dust. I mean, you know, I will tell you that that the tune in that Blackwing is going to be night or day. If you don't have the proper tuning in that thing, it'll be a turd. If you do get it right, it's a fucking monster. Oh, Blackwing PR style. Thank you, man. I appreciate the donation. Speaking of another nasty Blackwing, he's got a 2650 Blackwing down there in Florida, and did his first wheelie the other day. So yeah, kicking ass down there. Appreciate that. And we just got to get him to scoot his seat up a little bit more and send that shit. But we don't.
Take your time.
We always want people to take their time, learn their car, be comfortable, make as many passes as you need. Don't put that shit in the wall, because I'll cry and then I'll buy it and rebuild it. What heat range spark plug would you run in a motor built for twin turbos, but they are not bolted to the engine as of yet? So when you say built for twin turbos, did you lower the compression for some reason? Because we don't like that either. Man, honestly, I usually try not to even put anything less than a 7 in any motor, no matter what, because it's not going to hurt anything. So I just go with the 7s. What's up, Mikhail? How you doing? Josh Larkin in the house. What's up, man? How's it going? Max, how are you a new member?
No, he joined Silver Support.
Oh, appreciate it. Okay. I was like, I thought he was a member already. Max dropping the donation. Thank you, man. Sorry. I'm speechless. Appreciate it, man, as always. And Blackwing join the membership. On his, I know it says Blackwing here, but if you look at the picture, it's Black VVING. So if you go to TikTok, you can check his Blackwing out. So Black VVING. Go check his stuff out. Hello, Lori. Lori's truck is finally getting the 4L80 from Tim King put in, so she can do mega Uber wheelies, right? Or did you already do a wheelie? Or was that picture AI? Oh, by the way, Lori, hold on.
You gotta hold it long.
There we go. Look. Boom. The Russell Motorsports shirt, rocking it.
Oh, because
Yeah, no, she's not hacking and coughing again. She's still hacking and coughing and refuses to go to the doctor. I have a customer with a beautiful 2004 Corvette that has a Borla exhaust and will not pass DE emissions. Can I turn off the rear O2s? Unfortunately, I'm going to have to refrain from discussing that here, just because I don't need no EPA issues. But there's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. When should I worry about my trans if I just do rolls? Twin turbo 6466, Langless 390 motor, K-Tech ported heads, FTI 3600 stall for rebuild, old setup through a rod. What trans are we talking about, Alex? Just so I know. That would help me. Stoked to get my tune tomorrow. Matt, got you. I know we didn't have the wideband shit sorted, but now that you have it, we'll definitely be taking care of that. And do you think I can max out my turbos without the stock castings failing? Was hoping for 1300. I can tell you that Wendy's car has stock LSA castings, and we haven't had a lifted head ever on that setup for 36,000 miles, and she makes 1400 wheels. So as long as you have the fueling, not an issue. Full weight ZL1 with a Monster Triple S. Do you prefer the ultra lightweight aluminum flywheel to help offset the weight of the triple? Street manner is okay. Honestly, I don't know, because I don't know how much lighter that flywheel really is, nor do I know if, because everything's so neutered, if it would throw some issues to the torque modeling or not. I doubt it would, and I doubt it's not a fixable thing, but it's something I would for sure consider. Didn't see you at LS Fest East, but did get to watch some caddies flying. Well, man, I was there. We were driving all over the place.
we saw the caddies. We saw you.
Huh?
Did you write their video?
Oh, yeah. If you saw the caddies racing, I was at the line, being like down there like that. Grapes. It was getting hot in my hand. Nobody likes a hot grape. But yeah, appreciate that, man. They were definitely kicking some ass, but There's a lot more coming out of both of those cars. What kind of power can you put down with? Jose, help me out, bud. Thanks for the info. Love your work. Appreciate it, man. Here to help any way I can. Huh?
He's got a comment of you down.
Okay, I'm getting there. Duflocker Rant, thank you for becoming a member. We appreciate that for sure. How much power can you make? Can you put down with port injection controller, port injection plates, big gulp intake, auxiliary fuel pump, flex fuel kit, billet, supercharger lid, Kong port service? So basically, full bolt-on V3 stock cam. If we're talking stock cam with a Kong ported blower with enough pulley, 850-ish, maybe squeak 9, but usually we get too much heat by them. We go to the 2650 to get in the 9s with the stock cam. Justin, I had these codes POC6, P2C61, 2C1F this morning on my 20 LT1 Camaro. It has an LT4. I don't know off the top of my head what those codes are. I'd have to go look that up. So if you want to come back and add what those codes are, I can help you with that. But typically the signs would be just that pump dropping. If you have the pump tapering on the top, right, like your high side pressure is dropping up top, typically that's more of a tune issue or stock cam, running out issue. Usually when the LT4 pumps fail, they just tank and they're just dead and you can't do anything about it. For C7Z, the best ice tank that I've seen so far, I'm hoping that Extreme CFM would come out with the tank for the center mount. That way I can buy it for my car. But currently the Cortez tank for the rear mount has been the best one. I've got an underhood one on mine, but the problem is when I ice it down, the water goes down, it hits the back tire and causes a spin.
I don't like that.
Blackwing here, heads cam, export 800 on 93, currently out of fuel and want to run some E85. What's the safest, most effective fueling setup to do so? Well, for that, we can, I don't know if you have the Flex setup or not. If not, we do offer the Flex code modification for your ECU. Whoever's tuning it can send us the file. We can, patch that code in for them, tell them how to hook it up. But you would want to go port injection, realistically. 2i PSI is what's out there currently for that one. So hit them up. They can get you that. And then you'll be able to run full E85. Assuming you have an aux pump. If you don't have an aux pump, you'll need at least that to get you in the 950 range. Best F1A94 setup on a C7Z. What do you mean by that, Jose? And I'm not a big fan of the Pro Chargers on the C7s. They do great on the Camaros, but I'm not a big fan of them on the C7s. The belt issues are just a pain in the ass. And I know some people say they don't have issues, but those guys probably don't daily their cars. And I try to always speak in daily. That way, hey, he said this will work. That will work, and you can drive that across the country. I would never drive a pulleyed up Pro Charge car C7 across the country ever, unless I just hated my life. All right, real quick, just one more. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, make sure to move over to Tuned In with JWT on YouTube. That way, if you have questions, you can pitch in here, and we'll keep rolling through these questions for as long as you guys have them and discuss pretty much any topic. Nothing's really off limits. We'll talk whatever, talk shit, do whatever. I mean, either way. I have a lightweight flywheel. Some vehicle dynamic folks driving my car felt like the car behaved like it didn't have a blower in terms of engine response. Like it's weaker, or I'm not 100% picking that one up, Vignesh. Planning a winter build for my C7 and going to get with you soon on a build consultation to get me headed in the right direction. Yeah, so something that we don't talk about enough. And I'm hoping that by us doing it, that other tuners will do that as well, because it for sure has helped the business. Offering a consultation, whether we're tuning it or not, doesn't really matter. We do build consultations, so basically it just works. Who's better to ask than people that literally just do this every day, all day, on every platform out there? So basically our consultation gets you, a phone call where we could just sit there and shoot the shit for whatever, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever you book, and go over everything. And that way you can kind of get an idea of a direction. Like I'll have guys call me and they'll be like, oh, this is what I want to do, this, and this. And I'll be like, okay, but have you considered this, and this. And then we have a whole conversation, and at least they can get everything in a row. And it's a lot better than just banking on the internet and what the internet says, throwing a bunch of parts together, calling us for a tune, and then I have to be the asshole that tells you that car is not going to do what you want it to do. So if you haven't done consultations, I think they're very affordable. I'm hoping that other tuners start doing them, but you don't have to be tuned by us to do a consultation. It is my opinion. So, if you want that, cool. If you don't book it. But yeah, so I appreciate you at least speaking on that, and we'll definitely be helping you get in the right direction. It is nitrous outlet. Okay. Just wanted to make sure that you were on the same page there. How much can I push stock LT4 motor, 2650 nitrous heads cam? I live in a 9,000. Jesus Christ with your DA, guys. I know it's sea level. I usually say they're pretty comfortable around 1200 because at that point you start getting a lot of stress on the crank and a lot of stress on the bearings in the factory motor. I'd call it reliable around 1200. I don't think that the DA is going to make much of a difference because it's going to be harder for you to make that power. Maybe 11, but 11, 12 is where I usually call them pretty safe. With a proper tune-up, that thing will last a long time. Blackwing wins on interior, exterior, V3 all day. Man, I don't know. I like the V3 exterior, don't get me wrong. But boy, you can't tell me that Blackwing doesn't look mean as shit. Especially when you turn the lights off and I don't know. And the lights up and just the way the lighting is done on the car just looks so mean. I like both, honestly. If GM would have put the attention to detail they did in the V2 and the Blackwing in the V3 would have been awesome. But honestly, I will argue with a wall that they dropped the fucking ball on the V3 and they just threw whatever shit they had in it and were like, good enough. They did great on the body design. Everything about the driveline is fucking trash, except for the LT4 motor. But
I don't know. You can put any V3 next to Tim's car and it's gonna look like shit.
Yeah. I mean, look up Tim King's Blackwing and tell me that there's a V3 that looks better. I'm just saying. Can you talk more about booster pump? This was the first I've heard of it. So a booster pump is basically, it's a voltage booster. So, our car typically makes 12 to 14 volts, depending on the car, depending on the platform, blah, blah, blah. So what this does, calm down, bro. So basically what this does is it takes the 12 to 14 volts coming in and it steps that up to 18 or 22 volts, depending on the booster pump that you run. I think the only one doing the 22 volts is the JMS. So anyways, what that does is when you go into boost, right, you have something that activates it and that will turn it from the 12 volts to the 18 volts. And if you know anything if you've ever had Power Wheels in children, more voltage spins the pump faster, which gives you a lot more output. A typical booster pump can improve fuel flow by 50%. So it's almost like adding another fuel pump. And again, a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's a hack and blah, blah, blah. The only booster pump I've ever had fail came out of the box broken and was covered under warranty. I'm not saying they don't fail, but as long as stuff's wired properly, gauged properly, fused properly, I just don't see an issue with it. Again, I've done both. I have two on my car, one on aux pump and one on the factory pumps, and it's been doing that for quite a while. Wendy Coffee and an 8-second streetcar checking in. Congrats on that, by the way. Jax has a twin turbo Camaro SS, and he recently busted into the 8-second club. So, congrats to you, sir.
Woohoo!
And I hate you for having a trans brake. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous there.
Huh?
I'm jealous.
Yeah. One day we might get one, but Sean hates us. So. All right, planning on a winter build for my C7. Going to get with you soon on build consultation to get me headed in the right direction. Will 11.5 compression ratio work for BTR Stage 2 cam, F1A94, and Atlas port? Yes. What kind of boost? F1A94. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't want to give you the wrong answer. Just make sure that you carry spare belts. But yeah, that should work perfectly fine. Just make sure you also have enough fueling. And the one thing to consider with the F1A94 stuff, and maybe ProCharger can one day see this and answer this, is why they put an intercooler that is tapped out by 1,000 horsepower and an F194 that really starts to party at 1,000 horsepower. So the first thing I would do on an F194 car is spend the money to do a good air to water. Because if you do a good air to water, you have less drop through the factory intercooler, you have a lot less stress on the head unit, and you have a lot less belt braking issues. So just keep all that in mind when you do that. And we'll talk more about that in the consultation, but that's just things that we've seen throughout time, and I can advise on you ahead of time. That way you make a proper decision in your build. Thank you for the info the other day. The C warm-up tables and mini guys, the rabbit hole went deep. I told you. The rabbit hole of this code and these extra tables, and boy, if you think that rabbit hole went deep, we're digging to China right now. So it's only going to get better. The good thing is, you know, it really helps kind of, it's nice to not hit as many roadblocks as we used to hit, or have as many, man, I think this is what it needs. Now we're like, this is what it's looking for. Boom, boom, boom. Car runs 1,000,000 times better than it's ever run. So the rabbit hole's fun, but it is definitely stressing. Lori said, I'll never tell. I know, it's a pretty pimp shirt. I don't know who I got it from, but I like it. I'm digging it. 8090 trans on a Grand Sport. You previously tuned the car to 22 PSI. Yeah, should be fine. The only issue with the 8090, they'll hold 1,100, 1,200 on a C7 for quite a while. The problem is they have this spontaneous disassembly issue. So eventually that'll happen. But at that point, you call Circle D or Tim King and have another one built, and you do it again. But the 8090 is a real strong unit in the C7s. I mean, people have been, not publicly, but people have been in the 7s with them. So it's definitely there. What's a good way to prevent the crank getting shoved into the block? I'm on my third motor for the same issue, C7Z8. So I'm working with someone to get another plate made, but if you call RPM Transmission right now, they have a billet nose cone. So you'll change out your clamp style that's on the C7 that causes this issue, and you buy that plate. The downside right now is, especially if you have solid couplers, it will rattle like a son of a bitch. I think it sounds kind of cool. Wendy said it sounds like the car is falling apart. You be the judge. I would do that plate with the billet nose cone and the factory couplers and give it a whirl. But I am currently working with someone to try to come out with something a little better. More on that when I get more answers from them. But they are definitely interested in doing it, and we'll definitely bring that up here once we get there. But if you do that, that will allow the shaft to slip when things get crazy back here. Wendy's looking at me like, what the fuck? So basically, I mean, a coupler fails or a bearing fails, and I've seen it, a bearing fail on a brand new motor. RIP Jaron, I'm sorry, bud. Bearing failed in the drive line, in the torque tube, pushed it into the new motor, wiped the whole thrust out, destroyed the motor. After that, we put that billet nose cone deal on there from RPM Transmission, and problem solved. Can't do that again. But it is a little noisy.
It's very noisy.
It's whatever.
It sounds awful.
Tomato, potato. It sounds great.
Every single one that has that I don't know it has it, I'm like, what's wrong with that?
It sounds like a fucking race car.
No, it sounds like something's wrong with it. It sounds like something rattling out of it.
Anyways, depends on what. I don't like loud exhaust, but I like rattles.
I love loud exhaust. I don't want to hear the rattles.
All right. We already answered that one, so let me go. How much power do you think the stock 8-speed and a 6-gen can hold on rolls? So the rolls, not really a thing. Like, it's still power going through the trans. Yes, the 2-3 shift at the track is pretty rough, but like shifting with big power in higher gears is significantly worse. I don't know why people think that the track is better. The track, just you're shifting harder, faster. I think maybe that's their mind state. But for sure, a roll is going to kill a trans before a dig is going to kill it. That being said, stock trans 6-gen, 1,000 wheelish should be no problem. Why aren't you a fan of TSP cams? Don't quote me, but I thought they had the same CNC machine as GM. I think Texas Speed has some of the most advanced equipment from what I've heard, but just based on things that I've seen on Thule's Spintron, and based on the fact that I put a Texas Speed cam in my motor and broke a valve seat 5 miles later, it gave me a sour taste. I'm not saying that they're terrible for a fact. I don't know. It's not my preference, and it's just an opinion. Have people started to like the new JLT intakes with the 6th-gen ZL1? Are they better than a Rotofab? Visually, they look better at least. I will say, to date, I haven't seen anyone put in the R&D and commitment that Rotofab does. Rotofab seems to always be like perfection when it comes to making the intake, making the velocity stack, making everything properly. So I don't know. I've never seen a JLT intake that I think personally was better, but maybe there's a new one and I haven't seen it. But currently, Rotofab is where it's at. Is that a FED question? What is that?
Fed question. It was the one about the issue sensors.
Oh, a Fed question. Yeah. We don't do those here. Well, we can ask anything you want, but not EPA. What's up, man? Haven't talked to you in a while.
It was his birthday the other day.
Oh, well, happy late birthday. There we go. To follow up my question with the Corvette, I don't have the room for an O2 sensor extension. Are 90-degree extensions available? That is literally on the same plane. So I don't know.
Book a consultation.
Yeah. Just hit me on the back line. What was your preferred tire and setup on the 18-inch wheel you did before you did the conversion? I did the conversion of my car like right off the bat, and then I never put 15s on it. Now I went 15s, so I'm getting ready to party. But 345 35 18 has been the best tire I've ever had on my car, bar none. Nothing has been better. So preferred tire, I like the ET Street R because it works really well. I like the Street SS because I think on like a dirtier road, it works better, maybe the grooves. But the issue is once you go out like roll racing for a while and you're out with a bunch of people, as you spin, those tires will tend to ball up and you get like little beads on them. And then you got to stop, pull over, pour water, do a burnout, clean them off. So I like the Toyo R because it has almost the same amount of traction. I'd say 70% of it, but they don't do that ball up issue, so you can just keep running them all night. Yes. Is LSA ported snout alone or whole supercharger worth how much horsepower? Thanks. I've never tested it with just the ported snout. I've always just seen the whole supercharger. Back in my day, if you look up 40 HP LSA dyno test, we tested a bunch of the older designs. Obviously it was back then, and we showed a lot of them back to back to back. I'd like to do one of those tests again, but honestly, we got so much heat on that, even though we did everything live and everything in a controlled environment and everything how you're supposed to do it, that I'm not really convinced to do it again, because that was a lot of time, money, and commitment for people to just cry about it. What should I do to the car before you get here and we dyno it? Add boost, add nitrous. Rinse and repeat. Any trips to San Antonio? Houston's really close to San Antonio. You could just make that little trip. I'm making a 2,000-mile trip to Houston. You can make a 3-hour trip. But I don't have anything currently for San Antonio other than when we do our trip next month, which will be north, east, west coast, all the way back around. We will come through San Antonio then. So a month and a half, 2 months, something like that. Rail pressure low during engine cranking. Low pressure. Typically, I only get that when I have air in the system. So I wouldn't think it's a bad pump. I'd have to see a log, honestly. If you can get a log, I can check that out for you. Tim's carbon hood makes it look good. Stock hood, not so much, but that carbon hood is fire. I don't know, man. Even the stock hood looks pretty sick on him. But yeah, Tim, I said if I didn't know Tim was married, I think he was a gay man, because his taste is impeccable. Every vehicle he builds is just fucking money.
And he said my car looked good.
Huh?
And
he said Wendy's car looked good, so he got extra brownie points there. What are the difference between What are the differences between the aluminum 5.3s? Which ones?
The aluminum.
Which ones? I think the only one I know of is the LC9, and that's because that's the only one you should want to know about, and that is going to be the power plant that we're going to put in the Mustang here in Puerto Rico, because the cylinder walls are like that. Currently, I have an RPM 5-inch intake on my Kong 2650 with a 112, Kong throttle body, 5th-gen Camaro, heads, cam, built stock cubic inch. It seems to me I've had nothing but drivability. Bad AFR never settles. Yeah, because the RPM 5-inch intake is absolutely fucking terrible. Literally going from that intake to the air aid, we picked up 30 wheel back to back, and we have that on video too. Nothing against RPM as a company, because I understand why they were doing what they were doing. But yeah, the short ram intake definitely seems to work much better. I don't know if DDP makes an intake for that car. I'm pretty sure they do. If they don't, something like an air aid, rotofab, something along those lines. Short ram works really well on those. You could also, it can be tuned to have better drivability, but you're gonna have to handle him. I'm gonna come over there and.
I'm trying.
Anyways, you can dial that in better, or dial it in speed density. So that's another option to get you better drivability. But I don't think highway drivability is ever going to work really well, because you've got a hot dog in a hallway situation. Another great. So got the Escalade motor built and the twin kit ready to bolt on. Why is there no aftermarket fuel pump support for the trucks? There is. Escalade V pump. So, or I prefer the auxiliary pump, because you got that long ass tank in the trucks. So when you go to take off, that fuel sloshes really bad. Just remember my Suburban. When I did that, I tried a booster pump first, and the fuel slosh at half a tank was so bad that I did the aux pump, tapped in the back, and problem solved. So that's the way I would go. All right. I have a 19Z export blower, stage 3 cam, JMS booster pump, stock LC4 injectors, BTR set, exhaust valve closed, 11 degree, advanced top dead center. How far would you push soy before spraying during an open exhaust valve be a problem? So I'm going to address this as the best way to address it is adjust your soy until you stop getting richer. Right. So stop thinking about, and I know people are gonna be like, oh, you're supposed to, you can't spray it out the exhaust valve. I believe that where you're asking it to inject is not where it is injecting. And again, you can argue with that. That's okay. I don't mind. This is my opinion. My opinion is back the soy up until it starts going leaner, or, drop the soy, start high and drop it until you're adding enough, until it starts getting too richer. And then at some point, it will stop getting richer. That's when you're not spraying out of the exhaust anymore. That's more info than I would ever normally give out. So that should definitely help you. Trying to find a triple pump. Yeah, but if you do a triple pump in an Escalade with a tank that's 5 feet long, at half a tank, you're going to be out of fuel. So remember that. Why is it such a problem with C7 and Pro Chargers throwing belt alignment, or unbalanced? Honestly, I think the biggest issue with the C7 and the Pro Charger, first off, is the intercooler. And the reason I say that is because when we were pushing the factory intercooler at like 1100, we were measuring 24 PSI on one end and 17 on the other side of the intercooler. Snapping belts like crazy, went to a 10 rib, snapped the belt still. We had an issue with the 10 rib setup. And when we were doing the air to water, because we got rid of the air to air finally, we put the air to water on there, and we put the 8 rib belt back on because we just needed to, and we didn't break a belt again. So I think a lot of it stems from the extreme pressure on the head unit, not being able to maybe, decelerate the same as the engine is decelerating. I don't know, but that's what I think is the factory air to air intercooler is the biggest issue. Even thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate that. I know you said do nitrous due to my DA, and I will do that, but you think other mods should be good. I'm assuming it's the converter, unless you think something else would be better. Converter for sure. The converter will definitely wake up most of it, but I'm still going to rest my case at nitrous for the DA. Thoughts on LS9 CNC heads? Well, the factory LS9 head is CNC'd, so I think they're a fantastic head. But keep in mind that LS9 heads still suffer from the same issue LS7 heads had because they have the same valve angle. So make sure that you have I think it's the exhaust valve guide redone or something. But outside of that, they have great valves already. You can buy them factory. The porting is pretty damn good because it's already CNC'd, or you can have them done by one of the head guys out there. For consultations, you can set them up at justinwhitetune.setmore.com. That's where we book our scheduling for tuning and consultations and all of that. So I'll have Wendy add that to the comments. She'll pin it. Is your Escalade stock or modified? If modified, what do you have done to it? My Escalade currently is stock, other than it runs on E85, and I just recently got the TCM unlocked by GPI when we were driving through to fix the horrible 3-to-1 downshift issue and the converter shutter before it becomes a problem. But outside of that, it's a gangster on just E85, and it's a lot of timing, and it's tuned, but there's no flex. I get it. There's no flex sensor. I don't have time, and it does fine. The O2s fix that issue. You just don't floor it when it's on pump gas because it has the same timing and it's dangerous.
It's been 2 years like that.
It's fine. It hasn't blown up. We'll turbo it when we get there. I'll put a flex sensor on when we turbo it. Are there any bucket fuel setups for the Black Wings versus drill and tap the tank for the aux pump? I don't know currently of any. I'm sure there is. Unfortunately, we run the dual aux pump setups or the single aux pump setup, depending on what you're trying to do. Input on Camaro, BMR, diff bushings. I recently saw people say you do not use the rear washer type bushings. Do not use the rear washer type bushings and long crank bolt. I was breaking the diff castings. Some say, honestly, Jax, 100%. I don't do any of that shit. I get it. It helps with traction, but it just drives shitty. Like Wendy's car still has stock engine mounts, stock cradle bushings, stock diff bushings. I don't know. I don't like all the vibration and the shittiness of the vehicle after that. So I don't know. But I can tell you that I know Rick and a lot of the other guys out there do that on everything. So I'm sure there's a reason for it. Would you ever consider coming to Albuquerque, New Mexico to help tune some cars? I'm coming to New Mexico on the next trip. So I'll be there within about a month and a half. We actually raced on that big mountain up there in Albuquerque. And I had a mid 9-second car. And I'll tell you, it had to feel like the slowest thing I've ever raced before. 2 mid 9-second cars next to each other, and we could literally have a conversation. It was that DA just depresses me. Okay, what type of log do you need to see? A wide open throttle or a cold start log? I got both. Let's do cold start for sure. We don't need wide open right now. Let's do cold start and idle, and then maybe just like a little bit of driving. But make sure you email me first at justinwhitetune@gmail.com. That way I can send you the proper channels. MSD in 103 or high ram in 103. Again, it depends if you're going to cut your hood or not. If you're okay with cutting the hood, high ram for the win. Alex with the donation. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Donations help a lot. All right, so 525 primary pump and a big-ass aux pump should suffice. I know you told me to go port right off the bat, so I'll be doing that as well. Yeah, that's what I would do because you don't want to have that loss of fuel from the slosh. It's going to be a problem. Appreciate you becoming a member. Thank you, man. All right, so we're slowing down here. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, make sure to come over to Tune In with JWT. I think this session went pretty well. If you guys have any questions and want to discuss anything, make sure to drop it here, and I'll give it another few minutes. Let's see if the questions start coming up. If we start getting it, we'll hang out here a little bit longer. I'm home now, so I'm okay with that. Equip performance. I agree. Appreciate the info as always. No problem. Like I said, this is just, an opportunity for you guys to ask whatever you want to ask, discuss whatever you want to discuss. I don't usually do these. I usually have like an agenda of like things we want to discuss, and then we'll do a little Q&A, but at least this kind of gives you a platform to ask, and then everybody can kind of learn together. When are you available for build consultation? Go to the pin site and you can book it right there. All of the available times are going to be listed. Taylor, I know you used to go to the pad, and if you used to go to the pad, there's this guy named Dinky. If you don't know who that is, ask about him. And Dinky said a long time ago, if you don't spray at least a 200, use a bitch. And I have lived my life by that. So, you know, I don't know why they even include jets for a 100 shot. That's just silly. If you're going to spray nitrous, like, come on. Most people are like spraying a motor on a motor. No, that's thick. Thick was like, oh, I'm going to put nitrous on it. I got a 50 shot. That's not a shot. That's like taking a Tylenol for a broken leg.
Sprinkle.
Huh? It's a sprinkle. I make 1,200 on blower. Give me a fucking break. I got a 125. That's close. There's a 2 in there. But you know what? I have the 200 jet in the center console. As soon as I get to Houston tomorrow night, I'll go to storage and I'll take a picture of the jet sitting there. It's always there in case you want to fuck around and find out. But I haven't needed it.
You don't need it.
So that's why. And because I have a rod and piston motor and I'm terrified. Do you think rear-wheel drive guys are going to do anything against the F-150s at Cleats event? I don't. And here's my thing. I think the all-wheel drive shootout thing is like the coolest thing ever. But remember that they had those trucks booking and cooking with no water burnout, right? And then the rear-wheel drive guys complained that they couldn't do a water burnout. So they're like, oh, let's add water. Cool, add the water. Their rear-wheel drive guys are going to hook better. But so are the all-wheel drive guys. And the diesel that won the last event, go watch his video and watch his launch with the dry burnout and watch his launch with the water burnout. If they thought that diesel was coming and kicking ass last time, they fucked up. They fucked up. And hey, maybe I'm wrong. But again, they're in trouble. They better fucking bring their A, B, and C game. But I'll be tuning in for that for sure. And if y'all don't know what we're talking about, Cletus's all-wheel drive shootout with the trucks and cars and whatever it is. I think it's just open to whoever because, you know, Manuel and then with the midnight trucks are just like, fuck the world. And they got this diesel out there that I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but it's fucking insane. It's so insane.
Can I bring my cup?
Huh?
No, I can't.
Do what?
Can I bring my cup? I said, oh, no, it's you.
Oh. It wouldn't work. They had a plat out there. Didn't work. Not sure if you answered K-Tech ported LSA snout. Horsepower gains over the cost. I don't know because I've never tested with just the ported snout. Huh?
Gringo truck?
No, the Gringo truck is an F-150. There's
That's what women will in it.
right, but there's a diesel out there that beat everybody, which
They
is
call me Gringo truck.
crazy. Are you coming anywhere near Oregon on your West Coast trip? Yes, we will be coming straight through Oregon, I think. No? Yes?
No.
We're not going to Portland again. That was, if you live in Portland, I'm sorry.
It's been a while.
I got to look on the map, but we should be posting the route in the next week or two. So if you just follow our pages, follow our YouTube, we'll get it updated on there. But I know for a fact we're going to leave Houston. We're going to go straight to North and South Dakota, take a left through Montana, all the states on the way. And then at some point we're going to drop down into Cali and follow Cali down and come back across by
Part of
Mexico.
Oregon.
It depends what part of Oregon, Wendy said. Let us know. Ricky Bobby, thank you, man. I appreciate the donation. I know this has been beat to death, but shooting for 850 to 900 with export LSA, stage 1 BTR cam, or Shigon, I mean, it's going to continue to get beat to death. The Shigon cam does really good if you do like no prep stuff and you need the power up top for sure. If you want the power everywhere because you have a heavy vehicle and you have traction, the stage 1. I think it's called the Red Hot or stage 1. I don't remember what they call it these days for the 217 cam, but that's what I would go to. Yeah. Anyway, 217, 220 on the intake seems to be the sweet spot for those. If you really want the best cam you can get, track down Rick Crawford, send up smoke signals or something, and he could hook you up. He made the new cam for my car, and it'll be going in shortly as well, probably after we get this trip done. I'm just happy you're doing this. 22 Camaro SS untouched, just saying money for parts. Oh, well, Yeah, I figure we need to do this so people kind of have a place where they can ask somebody that actually does this, right? And then if you have somebody that disagrees with something that we say, another tuner or shop or anything, I welcome them to come on here and let's discuss it, because that way,
everyone can learn.
Everybody can learn, right? Everybody's going to see this. This stays up on our site. Anything we say, you can kind of go back to it. But yeah, if we have other people that want to get in and want to have conversations, hit me up and let's talk about it. Let's go over combos. Let's go over things that they've seen versus things that I've seen. And then, maybe we both could learn something. Favorite cam on stock bottom end LT1? It just depends, because if you're talking stock bottom end LT1 at 11.5 to 1 compression, that's a totally different cam than a stock bottom end LT1 at 14 to 1 compression. Last question, which part of New Mexico? I'd love to take the car for you and maybe put the car on a dyno so you can look it over. Not sure. You just got to let us know, Irvin. Since you're already tuned with us, you'll get priority. So let me know, exactly where it's at. And when we're booking that trip, basically we put the projected route. And then as we have people that want to do tuning, we will alter the route as much as we can. So... can I run a Turbo 400 on a 2018 Camaro on a stock ECU or do a standalone? Yes, you can. I don't know why you would want to do that, but you absolutely can. Tearing apart an L87 that was done by a local shop that you know as well, and man, it's missing all the parts that were supposed to be upgraded along with all bent push rods. Wow. Unfortunately, I've been seeing some really sad stuff. And a lot of shops that are doing some really shoddy work, and I don't know why. It's not like people don't put the money in the cars, right? Like, just, if you need to charge more, just charge more, because most customers would rather pay more to make sure that their shit's done right. Nobody, I just can't imagine that you'd be like, hey, $50, I can do this, or I could do it right for 100, and they're like, half-ass it for 50. I just don't see that as a thing. There we go. Taylor Hoda, Crazy Horse. That's the truck. So if you haven't looked up Crazy Horse's video where he's prepping for that shootout, look up that video and tell me that truck's not going to just clean the field. It is Crazy Horse, Taylor. You're right. How strong are these Gen 5 motors? I did GPI rods and pistons with supporting valve train, DOD delete. So you have the same thing that I have in my car, and it makes 1250 and handles it just perfectly fine. So more than that Escalade's going to be able to handle for sure. But I mean, we could always, try 13. It's turbo, so it'll definitely handle 14. Unfortunately, Portland. Look, if you live in Portland, you know why I'm saying that. That place, man, it just looked like zombies everywhere. It was concerning, and I'll be traveling with a bunch of kids, and I just don't need them around that. So we'll find a safe space to meet. I know it's supposed to be full of safe spaces, right? But it's not. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's Titty Club, Dope Dealer. Titty Club, Dope Dealer. Bible store. Weird. Appreciate it, Marcellus. Thank you, man. Going to stock blower for Maggie and removing the headers. I know you told me. Depressing. Still have cam and lower pulley. We'll be able to go back to 91 octane in the tune. This is being done to sell. Please don't roast me, y'all. We're not roasting you. We're just crying. But if you're selling it for a Blackwing,
understandable.
We get it. I get it. If I could sell everything I own to buy a Blackwing, I would, but I could only get a deposit for a Blackwing, so they need to come down like at least half. Oh. Done any drop-in piston and rod at 5.3 LT builds with turbos? How are they holding up? Honestly, I haven't, but I know that they do them, and I couldn't imagine it being any different because the LT 5.3 still has pretty big cylinder walls or pretty big cylinder liners. It was there for 4 months. I can't speak on that. I've had unfortunately cars for longer than that, but due to different reasons. But at least if you're going to have the car, make sure the shit's done right when they get it back. That's all. That's the least you could do. But sadly, that's more than most people are willing to do. What supporting mods do you need to run nitrous on an LT1 Camaro, fuel, etc.? It depends on how much nitrous. If you're going to do like Dinky said and run 200 or more, I would highly suggest, LT4 fueling or port to add fuel to each cylinder. That way, it's an even distribution. And you also want to run good fueling, because if not, that motor's not going to live. Cook's headers are great for the 6th Gen SS, but what's a cheaper brand you recommend? Honestly, the stuff from, who is it? Stainless. Is it Stainless Works? I don't remember. Somebody pitch it in here, but it's like, I think it's like Stainless Works. They're actually really cheap, but they fit really well. For the Camaro stuff, they're very good. But remember, if you're doing headers on a Camaro SS, like a 6th Gen, that harness that runs by the coolant jug, make sure you move that behind the coolant jug, because if you don't, the headers will melt it. And the can lines seem to be right on the outside of that, and they get burnt first, which is very inconvenient. Heard you on that. Completely agree. Yep. All right. Hey, hope all is well. Do you think it's still worth waiting for BTR heads to come out? I don't know, because I'm hearing about them, then I'm not hearing about them. I don't know what's going on with it. So hopefully they'll post some more out there, but they are supposed to be, you know, bee's knees. But I'm always skeptical on new things until we can prove it out. So I really don't have nothing on that. But I'm sure the amount of stuff that and R&D that he's done for that, they should be pretty damn good. Which power adder would be better to make 900 horsepower on stock 10R80? A 2650 or ECS and 416? You mean 10L80? Because 10R80 is a Mustang. A 2650 or ECS and 416 or stock cubes. I mean, if you're trying to make 900 horsepower, I mean, you can do that with a stock motor. I don't know why you would need a big motor. It depends on the fuel too, as long as you have, you know, E85. But 2650 or ECS, I mean, I would go 2650. It's simple. It's a killer rotor pack. It does great with heat mitigation, and you get all the power all the time. I don't know. So I know BTR's big thing is like OE reliability, right? And so they focus a lot on valve bounce, things like that. But I would say GPI probably has a more aggressive profile. I don't know. I don't know for sure. But I wouldn't say that GPI has a durability or drivability issue either, because I know that they put quite a bit into their cams. So, Speed Engineering, that one. I know they're cheap, but you know what? They're really good. Every set of Speed Engineering I've seen on the Camaros fits arguably better than the more expensive ones. Probably talking about Speed Engineering headers. I've been running them for years now. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Great for the price, but they actually fit better too, which is fucking crazy. What's up, Eric? Appreciate you coming in, man. Speed Engineering, I have a set on 2 of my cars. Exhaust headers and exhaust are too expensive in my opinion. Right. I mean, I've got American Racing on my car and they're 1.7/8". I'm going to go 2-inch, but I'm probably going to go with Hooker makes some Blackheart headers that are tri-Y, because at some point I really want to run the exhaust out the front fenders, because I think Zoomies are super cool. If you know any fab guys that are like, hey, I want to try that, and you need a C7 to try that on, holler at me. I'll drop it off. I like for you to come tune in Albuquerque, since that's where rolls are at all the time, and it has better DA than where I live. I definitely make an appointment or whatever. Yeah, like I said, just keep up with us. We're for sure going to hit Albuquerque. I know Albuquerque always has, you know, a bunch of cars. For the, you know, you say better DA. It's still shit. But for the shit DA, they always get down in Albuquerque. Every time we've ever been there, they always get down. But yeah. All right. We're an hour and a half in, but if you guys have more, we'll keep going. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, move over to Tuned In with JWT on YouTube. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, you know, donate, whatever you guys want to do. Hit the membership stuff. We're gonna speed this page back up. We were on the road forever. We finally got back home to Puerto Rico, so we've been able to kind of like rejuvenate. What?
Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah, like literally I came home and weighed myself and was 248 and was like, holy shit. And then within a week of being home was 232. So if that doesn't tell you how shitty the food is in the States, I don't know what does. But it's good to be home, even though I'll be in Houston tomorrow. Is there a sweet spot you like to stay on cams for Gen 5 trucks? Honestly, smaller the better on the trucks, because once you start putting converters in trucks and they're heavy and they just start, I don't know. I'm a drivability guy. Like, I want something that I can get in and we can go to dinner. We can do whatever we want. I want it fast as fuck, but I still want it to drive really nice and really smooth. And I'm a picky bitch. So I wouldn't put any more cam than you'd have to put in it. Do the Magnuson 2650 get hot on a ZL1 more than a port? Not even close. The ported stock blower does great. If you knock the temp down and you have the proper cam, it'll mitigate the heat for that pass. But if you put a stock blower versus a 2650 from like a roll race, by like 2 or 3 gears, the stock blower is going to get really hot and the Maggie is going to surpass it by a good bit. So that's my opinion. Again, the stock blowers, they're manageable with a lot of pulley, but the Magnuson, there's no question, it is significantly better for cooling. Hooker does have something for the C7. I will find it for you. Hold on. Da-da-da-da. Boom. Part number, part number 701011324. RHKR. C7 Corvette Hooker Blackheart Tri-Y headers 2-inch for a Z06. Now you know. Get them. And if you get them, get an extra set, ship them to me. I'll send you my address because I need them. But I found them around $1,400 to $1,700. I like the Tri-Y design just because over time, the Tri-Y has shown to make pretty good power and be very good for scavenging. And if I'm going to spend money on headers, I want to at least get something that's going to make some difference. Want to save an 8 headers for a application or go 2-inch? Always go 2-inch. Always go bigger on the headers. Again, there's more opportunity for power. Might as well do it. I know people are like, oh, you lose bottom end. Absolutely not. I've tested that. Everybody's tested that. That's been beat to death. They're 7/8 to 3 or to 2-inch on even a stock LS3. There is no loss on the bottom end ever that I've ever seen from a 2-inch over like having an 7/8. In what metric? Fastest M6 ZL1, because most of the M6 ZL1s I have never go to the track. I've got one that's been low 4s, 60 to 130, but it's not really a wild build by any means. So yeah, I don't know. I've got some stupid fast in stock A10 cars, but yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, it's only when we get home. When we stay in the States too long, we start blowing back up because of all the crap in the food, I guess. Because I was like counting calories and everything in the States, like no more than like 1,500 a day at the most if I was active, and I was still gaining weight like crazy. I came back here and just boom, started dropping, no problem. What do you recommend me doing on my Gen 4 6.2 to handle 800 plus like nothing? I got injectors and fuel system and a YSI V7. Nothing. It'll handle it, no problem. Gen 4 6.2 will handle 800, especially with a YSI, because all the power is going to be made up top. So you have nothing in the mid-range to hurt it. Have you seen games with the header mod? So what he's referring to is basically they take the collector of the header and they cut it and they put a bigger collector. I know Brett does that a lot, and he says 20 to 30 horsepower, and I have no reason to doubt it. So yeah, I mean, I've seen it. I just think for an NA car, sure, but for a blower car, That part number is not available anymore. They phased out most of them. Most of the emission controlled headers after EPA stuff. If you're right, I'm going to be very upset with you. And I know it's not your fault, but I'm going to be upset. It says that they're available. Add to cart. Check out. I don't know, man. There's like 5 websites that say that they're available. So now you're going to make me call them and find out. And in 2 weeks, when we do this again, I'll let you know how upset I am if they don't have them. Are you ready to get M6 ZL1 in the 3s 0 to 160? 0 to 60 or 0 to 160? Because 0 to 160 in the 3s would be insanity. But yeah, I'm totally down to get them in the 3s 0 to 60 or 60 to 130. Huh?
He said he's a Holly dealer.
I understand, but now you're upsetting me, and I'm very, very sad about that. You should try to find me a set used to make up for it. Ever tested out octane boosters if they really allow a bit more timing safely? They do, but I don't like to tune for octane boosters because typically you'll tune for it and they'll get the mix right there, and then they'll they'll fuck up the mix somewhere along the line, and then they'll have knock and they won't know, and it's just not a good deal. If you're going out to beat on your car and it's already tuned, to handle whatever it's going to make on whatever fuel, you add that just gives you a little bit extra, protection. But yeah, octane boosters do work. I mean, they're basically just paint thinner in a can. 60 to 130. All right, yeah, we can do 60 to 130. 0 to 160, man, that'd be rough. Are CNR LSA bricks worth the money over stock? So I've seen a lot of CNR LSA brick stuff where they do really well. And then I had one good buddy, Greg, in Oklahoma that had one, and it leaked when his car was stored, and it took out the motor. So I don't know if that was the CNR brick issue or like it got cold issue. I don't know. But I just run the stock brick and no reinforced, no nothing. I know that's a lot of people are like, oh my God, we reinforce all our bricks. I've never reinforced a brick. And when you watch the Rick podcast, it's going to trigger you even more because neither does he. Have you tuned many LT5s or C701s? Yes, literally 5 of them in Puerto Rico. I do 3 in Dubai and probably 5 or 6 in the States. Yeah, we do a lot of C701 stuff. Any recommendations for a Houston tuner for Turbo 5.3 LS Holly Terminator? There's this dude, if you look him up, Justin White. That's who I'd recommend. He does that stuff. Outside of that, I'm not really sure, but especially Houston based, it doesn't matter. It's on Holly. Yeah. So, if you hit him up, I know he follows this page, so hit him up. He can do the Holly for you, no problem. And he'll be in Houston this weekend, I think. I'm not sure, but I believe he will be. Speaking of food, when I was in Puerto Rico, the tostones and those are among the favorites that I tried. Can't wait to come back. Look, next time you come back when I'm fucking here. But anyways, I'm not a big fan of the tostones. I'm not a big fan of the fake bananas. But you can't go wrong with the can or Yeah, I like the regular rice and bean too. So I don't like when it's already pre-mixed. I like to mix the shit myself. But it's okay. We can get both. Or if you come here and we can go hit up Reza Fuego, which is my the best one out here. They have the best ribs anywhere I've been. And I know that's like a bold statement because I've been everywhere, but I'm telling you, if you don't believe me, yeah, we're from Texas and they have the best ribs. And if you don't believe me, fly your ass out here and we'll go over there and we'll grab some. So Reza Fuego, they're in Hatillo. What's your input on bronze valve guides with stock rockers versus roller rockers? I don't mess with the roller rocker stuff just because every time I see people do roller rockers, they break off. I feel like that's a small block thing, like an old small block thing. And I've made 1,800 plus fucking horsepower on stock rockers. So I don't know. I'm a stock rocker fan. Appreciate the donation again, man. Thank you. Bro, I can't wait to get this Blazer pumping and jumping with these 1340 IDs. Just waiting on a flex sensor. Yeah, that's gonna be a next level deal there. Do you think this new C801 will be the fastest car on rolls with the new LT9 once it's tunable? I think I'm not sure that I'm convinced that it will be tunable. I have heard a guy that claims that he's been able to get into that ECU. HP Tuners isn't into it, but they aren't even into the trans on the regular base C8. So that's what's holding me from wanting to get a C8 to begin with. If they get into the trans, I'll feel a lot better. And then, yeah, if they get into that computer or some redneck pulls that motor out and sticks it in a Fox body, that motor will be the Coyote killer. That 5.5 is just, it's an impeccable motor. It's literally solid roller. Like it's crazy, the technology that's in that engine. And the power it makes, word on the street is like literally with stock parts, they've made 2,000 on an engine dyno with the same stock setup. So same turbo, same inlet, same everything, 2,000 right there. So if they're tunable and, you know, you've got the balls to turn up a $450,000 car, 100%, I think it's going to be a killer car. But if I was going to spend that kind of money, I would get the ZR1X for sure. Even with the rolls, you know, because once you start turning that thing up that fast, you're going to need it. All-wheel drive is just more better. If you've ever driven a Tesla, you totally get it. It's just once I stop being lazy. Hey, look, my car's been sitting in storage just because I'm like, I'll get to it later. So I get it. Quick question. I've been wanting to tune my car with you. I know an MPVI is needed. What else do I require to be tuned by you? 6th gen SS 8-speed. So you'll need an HP tuner, MPVI 2, 3, 2 plus, whatever. I think 3 would be the best if you don't have one. Go ahead and buy the 3. You'll need a wideband. I use the AEM 30-0334 because it plugs into the OBD. And then any i3, i5, i7 laptop that you can get. Best Buy usually has them $500-600. So that's what you would need. And there is a video on this page that goes over the things that you need for tuning. I think Wendy did it, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So it's on our page. You can go through that, find that video, and it has it.
It's a short.
It's a short, so that's even easier for you because it's short. Hey, boss, what do I need to get started with a remote tune so I can get truck tuned by somebody like yourself or Matt Sanford? Both great options, no problem there. But yeah, that same thing as the guy above you. We have a short that lists what you need. Wendy will see if she can find it, maybe tag it in here. But essentially just an MPVI 3 laptop with i3, i5, or i7 processor. That's just my go-to. And they're relatively inexpensive. And then you need a wideband unless you're a Blackwing or a 24 plus truck, in which they already have widebands, or a C8 because they already have them as well. All right, we'll give it a couple more minutes. If anybody has some more stuff, we'll keep going. If Wendy can find that video, she'll tag it in here. All right, she's tagging it in here. She's fast. Anyways, outside of that, then I'll get my ass back to tuning and then get on a plane tomorrow and head to Houston. Maybe I'll video some on the dyno while we're there. Send it to Wendy so she can upload it. So we've switched from the daily vlog just because it was really involved and people seem to really respond more to the shorts. So we're going to focus more on the shorts right now, getting the podcasts done and processed. And then, you know, going from there and then doing more of these. Like I said, I think this turned out really well just to kind of let's just chat. So 2 weeks from now, 2 Wednesdays from now, we'll do it again. We'll probably do a little bit more on topic, but then we'll do this as well. That way people can kind of ask whatever we want. Let's get into more regular discussion as well. It doesn't always have to be work. Do you travel to tune? If so, would I still need a wideband and the other things? No, if I travel there, I usually have all that with me. I prefer you to have your own wideband, but if not, I usually carry one with me.
Ask him where he's at.
Huh?
Ask him where he's at.
Oh, where are you located? That would help us know if we're going to be there anyways.
Stop jumping on the couch.
So Balasakis, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but it's $1,500 to fly there, so we're not coming. But I will be on my computer ready to help you dial it in so you can go down there and make passes. I thought we already talked about this, though. Pretty sure we already did.
We'll be there in 2 months.
Yeah.
Meet us in Albuquerque.
Oh, New Mexico. Yeah. So we'll definitely be there anyways. And I'll have all my stuff with me. If I grab a cam, what should I get? LAT torque cam or BTR stage 2? It depends. If you want the chop, BTR stage 2. If you don't, the LAT torque cam I've heard a lot of good about. I've tuned them, but I've remote tuned them. So I don't know. I haven't felt them in the vehicles. Are you able to tune the older Gen 3 LS platform? My truck is unfortunately, we no longer tune Gen 3 vehicles. You know, there's plenty of Gen 3 tuners out there. It's just doing Gen 3 remote acquiring the data is not very good. And it's just not a good deal for remote for us. So if we do it in person, maybe, but typically we use the other people. I think Matt still does Gen 3. And then that Jack Kober, if you look him up, he does Gen 3 as well. But yeah, unfortunately, we don't do that remote anymore. Another hot grape.
You've been out for 2 hours now.
This is I'm holding it in my hand, not paying attention. No problem, man. Appreciate it. Any way we can help, we will. If y'all know who Corey Willis is, I'm keeping up with what he's doing soon. We gotta do whatever we want, both diesel and gas. Yeah, what Corey Willis is doing is awesome. He's been fighting the good fight ever since they kind of dicked him a few years ago, hit him for a couple $1 million. But he's been in court fighting with Congress and fighting with the EPA, and really, man, what he's doing is amazing. And you know, the lengths he's gone for everybody, I think more people need to go to his page and, you know, share and like and subscribe to his stuff, because that man is changing. He's going to change all of our lives, honestly. But that's also if we can keep the people that are like, oh man, we're going to be able to do this, and then they fuck it up on the way. So remember that, like, he's doing all this for us. Chill the fuck out until it's all done. Then you can wild out. But all these guys that are like, oh, we can roll coal soon, those are the guys that are just going to get all of that hard work ruined. Thank you for the information. Be in touch. Got you. Last question. You guys, whatever you want, man. We're here. Are you taking a C601 or C701? C701. I've done a lot of C601s as well. A shit ton more of those because there are more of those. But yeah, we do a lot of C701 stuff. I'm getting blue balls, man. I need to hit some boost on this new. We're getting there. We're getting there. I promise. You know, I'll get you another revision out tonight. Hey, quick question. I just got the anti-theft tune from you. When I try to write anything in my car, it says failed. The controller unlocker timed out. Would you know it's a problem? Yeah, turn on your Wi-Fi. And if that doesn't work, when I sign off of here, I can log in and help you with that. Will you be going for any more records with Wendy CTSV like the 6L90? Her car has a 10L90 in it now. So I don't know if we go for a 10L record because her car's really heavy, but we are about to start really pushing the shit out of it and see what it'll make, you know, so we can see if how viable the 10-speed swap in the V2 is. So far, it's been great at about 1,000 horsepower. But you know, anybody that's following knows that she makes quite a bit north of that. So we're going to start putting all that through it by the end of this year. So it's just too hot everywhere we are at with the car to really sit there and beat the shit out of it, especially since the motor's got way too many miles on it.
And I don't really care about records. I just want to fuck people.
Yeah, we don't really care about records. She just wants to drag everybody's ass. So that's what we're going to focus on. Is it worth tuning a 2012 Camaro L99 with cold air intake, long tube headers, and trade pipe? Honestly, yeah, they do pick up like good 30, 40 wheel. If you add some E85, 50, 60 wheel, I've seen. So I would say, especially if it's an auto, that's even better because, you know, the trans tuning. Stock LT4 high pressure pump currently running 25 MPa. Is there a max pressure before it damages the pump or until it hits the relief valve is fine? In the tune, I think max pressure is 27 to 27.5. Quick calculation. The relief, I can tell you for sure, is at about 36 to 3,700. It will blow the relief open by then. So I don't know what that relates to in MPA. I usually stop around 24 because you really start getting into issues of damaging the injectors. I've went up to 4,000 on the factory injectors, but at fear of lasering the tip off of the injector, I tend to not do that. So I would stick around 24. 25 is really pushing. If you're pushing 25, let's be honest, you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. And you're also definitely not thinking about reliability of those injectors. Going to rebuild the L94 with 200K on it. Probably going to have to bore, so we'll need pistons. What are your thoughts on going to a 416 or keep the stock stroke? It really depends on what you're going to do with it, what power adder, what the use case is. You know, bigger is more better typically, unless you're really looking for like some high RPM stuff, then I would stick with the stock stroke. But anything in a PD blower or stuff like that, I would just, you know, bigger cube. When it comes to something you want to spend high RPM, like turbo procharger, things like that, I would go into, you know, stock stroke, bigger bore. Are you and the family ready to come to the Cayman Islands? Dude, we're always down for an island. We live on an island. We're island
All
people.
we want to do is go to Island.
Yeah, we're all down for islands. Which is funny because when I first went to Hawaii, I was very uneasy for like the first few days because it was an island and it just made me feel weird. Can't really explain
Not
that.
even far. It's a ferry ride away.
Really?
No, a little more, but
Where's it at?
on the other side of it.
Sweetheart, that's on the other side of
Ferry ride
DR.
away, it was a joke, but
That is a hop, skip, and three
the other
jumps.
side of the earth.
The other side of DR, Dominican Republic.
Yeah, no, it's the other. That's Jamaica.
Jamaica's up.
Cuba. Jamaica is directly next to us. You
No,
look at it. Do you want me to show you a map in front of all these people?
yeah, hold on.
Because we're farther north than them.
Then Jamaica?
Yeah, than Jamaica.
I'm thinking Bahamas because I'm stupid. Yeah, but I was just saying it's like way over there. Anyways, I'm down.
It's just sideways.
I'm down. What fuel brand for E85? Mostly for E85 stuff, I've had really good luck with Ignite and 1R. I know some people say 1R makes a little more power. I haven't found that. But if you really want to make more power, just run C85. So that's for more power. But I usually stick with like an Ignite Red because Ignite Red or 1-ethanol because I've been able to do really dumb shit with both of them and they seem to be very reliable, if that makes sense. Like it's a good stable fuel. I picked up 40 wheel horsepower on my L9 with cold air intake headers too when I first bought it. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. The power's there for sure. And I mean, if 40 horsepower and a better driving trans isn't worth it to you, I don't know what is. LS7 or Gen 5 LT1, which has more potential for NA power? You're not going to like it, but the Gen 5 LT1 for sure. Because if you really think about it, how many stock bottom end LT1s, you know, in 376 cubic inches are making 600, 700 horsepower pretty easily, where we were having to do big, you know, LS7s to get that. So perfect. Just trying to max out stock system before upgrading to the nostrum injectors. Yeah, the nostrum injectors are pretty good. I did a lot of testing with those. I have some videos on that. I actually am going to put them back in and do some more testing with it. But you definitely can't run high pressure on those injectors. So if that's your goal, don't do that. I already did that and I broke them. So, you know, they're great if they're ran how they're supposed to be ran. But if you have port, you know, that kind of just steps right over that. If you hit me up, like I said, hit me on the back line, we can discuss a lot more of that. But yeah, either way, that's good. But if you're going to do the nostrums, make sure that you have a good pump to feed them. That's where we were kind of running into a problem. LT1 drop-ins and BTR 225 cam, high RAM, what is needed to run C85 fueling? LT4 fueling, I think we should be able to get it there with that. What's that, Beth?
I don't know what I said.
Okay. Would upgrading to LAT injectors be enough? Look, I'm going to go ahead and say this. Don't say I didn't say it. Do not move the LAT fueling to your engine because for whatever reason, every time I have a guy that's like, oh, I went to an LAT motor and I put all the LAT injectors and stuff, there's always some kind of issue with dialing them in or some kind of issue with the pressure sensor or leave whatever fueling you have, leave it the hell on there or just go ahead and do the LT4 stuff. Do not run the LAT stuff. And again, somebody might have a way around it. Just not worth it for me. It's not enough gain for the headache that could potentially be there. Tell me what putting high flow cats on my LT4 350Z build is going to do to me. I'm just trying to shut this thing up before we get tuning. If it's a bad idea, it's not a terrible idea, but keep in mind that with cats, we have to run, you know, quite a bit more fueling, things like that, to try to keep them cooled off, good enough timing to keep them cooled off. And it just when you're trying to make big power, honestly, just run a resonator. That would probably be the better bet. But high flow cats aren't a bad idea. That you just have to tune for that. There is, the cat temp tables are there for a reason. How high was the pressure when you damaged the nostrums? I broke them at 3,100, 3,200. As soon as I got over like 31, 3,200, I locked it out. But I locked it out so hard that it broke them. They overnighted me another set. And then I think I had an issue right at about 3,000. And I didn't mean to go 3,000. It was just a fudge on the key. But I had kind of have a hiccup and lock up. And then I brought it back down to like 28, 2,900. And they had no problem from there. Recently picked up a 1998 Mallet C5, untouched since it left Chuck's shop in the 90s. Worth tuning. Leave that thing alone. That thing is worth, its weight in gold. I don't think I could say to touch it, to be honest. Depends on what you want to do with it, but I mean, that's a killer setup already. Do you think GM going with direct injection fueling was the best decision over port injection? I think direct injection fueling brought us the crazy amount of power potential that the LT has. So I think it's a great idea. I think that they should have implemented port as well, like the Mustangs did, but unfortunately they only did that in a few vehicles. But the LT9 has direct import and the Z06 has direct import. So if your question is direct injection better than port injection, 1,000,000%. It's significantly better. It's the reason we can make crazy power. But do I think they should have had both? Yeah, for sure. Good to see you, Andrew. Haven't seen you, the whole live. I was like, man, I wonder if he's coming in. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to not preach it. The Gen 5 LT just every single day just amazes me even more. And the power potential and just what they can do is just insanity. If you disagree with that, then you're crazy and you've just never messed with it. The LS is awesome. It has its place in a race car. Sure, LS, like a dedicated, just a race car. But like something that you daily, that's 1,400 or less, that direct just gives it something that the LS, port injection will never have. One more for you. What are all the actual problems with the 6L8090 in stock form? And what would I need to do to make 6L90 reliable? Honestly, depends on the year, 6L80 or 90, but anything like 2010 and above, the biggest issue is the tuner. So as long as the tuning's done right, I mean, we've shown so many times that a stock 6L80 will hold 1,000, stock 6L90 will hold, 1,200 and hold it for quite a while. So if you doubt that, look up Sebastian Gomez on Facebook, because that psychopath makes 1,200 plus through a stock 6L90 for the last few years and just put another stock 6L90 in it because he broke the main input shaft. Could I send you a Gen 4 tune on a ZR1 to look over for advice? Tune the car myself, seems to run well. No issues until I start running 85. So what we do for people that are doing tuning and want tuning advice, that's where our membership package comes in. So we do the gold is, what is it? The bronze is just the regular membership to support us. The silver gets you early videos and, members only videos, stuff like that. The gold membership is for, people that need help with tuning. So if you need help and advice to kind of get that tune going, that would be our gold membership. You could do a consultation to do that, but the gold membership kind of is cheaper and is kind of what I structured that to be for.
Then you could always ask questions.
How many credits do I need for in-person tuning for the MPVI? Depends on the vehicle, depends on the year. If you want to know that, go to HP Tuner supported vehicles and find your vehicle there, and they'll tell you how many credits you need. Andrew, again, appreciate it. 2026 Silverado Spy Shots are rolling, and now Gen 6 V8 is so close. You think they will fuck us over with the new V8? Man, I really hope not. I mean, they spent a lot of money making it. Every year they have done better, arguably. But yeah, I think whatever's coming out, they're not going to add to it. I'm just hoping that in the newer one, they stop with all this fucking deactivating lifters and all the bullshit that they keep adding to it. If they would get rid of all that, we'd be happy campers and they would be more reliable. The biggest thing is I hope that they get people to put them together and not leave trash in the bottom end like they've been doing. That'd be a good step up. The crazy thing is, if you think about it, through all the years we've been building motors, right? Through all the years, they've never had so many factory engines failing as they do now. Toyota's having issues, Ford's having issues, GM's having issues. Then again, arguably, most people in the country are kind of losing their fucking minds, and maybe they're just sabotaging them. I don't know, but you'd have to agree that it's been pretty crazy that all these OE manufacturers are having so many engine issues now. So I don't know. We'll see. They'll probably disappoint us, but they've been doing really well so far. All right, we hit the 2-hour mark. I appreciate you guys that hung in there the whole time, and the guys that came in, the donations. Man, I can't thank you guys enough. We're going to sign out of here because I got to do some more tuning before getting some sleep and hitting that plane tomorrow to Houston. Like I said, like, share, subscribe, help us spread this, help us bring this community together. We've got a lot more coming, and I appreciate you guys tuning in with us. So see you guys in 2 weeks. We're out.